Hi, folks.
Hello.
Oh, go ahead, Danny.
Yeah. No, we just wanted to let you know we still have a lot of people signing in right now, so we're going to give it just a few more seconds here. We've got about 120 people registered, and so we just want to make sure everybody gets on board. So just give us about 30 more seconds so we can get started. Thanks, Dave. All right, I think we'll go ahead and let's get moving. We try to limit this to a 30-minute presentation. We got a lot of stuff to cover, but first off, like I said, I'm Danny Smith, and welcome everybody to our Modern Campus webinar. I'm joined today by David Stallsmith, our Director of Product Management. And, we're just really thrilled to have you guys back in our webinars. Today, David will be doing the play-by-play. I'll be doing the color commentary, just pitching in when needed. So what we're going to do is, David, if you'd advance that, please. So for 25 years, ColorID has been a trusted partner with universities, and I'm sure a lot of you folks, we've worked with so many of you. I recognize all the names that are up there. But, we've had that experience of helping folks migrate from one modality of credentials or solutions that we're providing and really tried to work up uh, strategies around our core values, which are really open connectivity, flexibility, affordability, and security. And so, what we're going to talk about today, the modern campus, is going to touch all those areas and is really the core foundation for what we're doing. So, we're really excited to have you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to David, and we'll jump right in it.
Great. Thanks a lot, Danny. Let me get the right control here. There we go. Color ID has been in the identity business since we started in 1999. I'm not going to read all the little tiny words on this slide, but you can see there a lot of words pop out in the titles: identity, biometrics, card migration, contactless, cloud suite, mobile. So a lot of words that we've championed, led, helped customers find in the identity world have been a big part of what we have done within the university market in North America. But talking about identity, what is identity? So this is our presentation. We get to make up the definitions, and I checked these online. They check out pretty well. But identity is how a system recognizes its users. If there's no identity, the user doesn't exist as far as that system goes. Why does it matter? Well, because systems cannot function without knowing who they are serving. And these could be people systems too, but generally we're talking about automated systems. They need to know who they are serving, who is asking for that service. Danny coined this great phrase, critical identity infrastructure. I Googled it. It's not out there. Danny gets a trademark on that one. But it really does apply to our industry. This is exactly what Color ID has been helping people with for 25 years. Credentials, the cards, the mobile credentials, whatever it is you're going to present to a system, the sensor or reader itself that is at the edge of the system, or the biometric terminal, or other sensors, whatever they are. And there are many coming. And then, of course, the software behind it to manage the people, to manage the credentials, and to manage the connections between the various systems. So jumping out of that for a moment, can you take identity management out of a financial transaction system? Well, of course you can. And why would you do that? To get to tomorrow's campus, modern campus today, which is the point of this webinar. So we're really glad you're here. Let's get right into it. Uh, this slide has a little bit of confusion, you might think. Not a lot has changed, and yet a lot has changed over 25 years in university identity and management. A lot of the systems are operating similarly to when they first started with meal plan lunch cards that were punched to what's going on now. Now, obviously, many things have been automated, but uh, improvements have been relatively slow, moderate pace until very recently. And now we have things jumping in there, cloud solutions, mobile credentials, AI. We haven't even begun to see how AI is going to affect all this. And then increased security risks. These are disrupting the industry right now. And balancing the legacy systems with the modern demands is a challenge for people who have to deal with identity. We broke these challenges down into 5 categories: legacy platforms that are not flexible, mixed credentials, managing mobile IDs, pretty new topic there, a lot of systems spread out across campuses and across a campus, and then other system challenges. Let's break them down one by one. Legacy platforms lack flexibility. Well, this is kind of common. As things get older, they get less flexible. We all find that out. And this is there is no exception in the world of legacy solutions in the university world. Um, this could be the access control systems. It could be the financial transaction systems. It could be the HR systems that are quickly being replaced right now. So a lot is being changed, and a lot of it has to do with the lack of flexibility of the systems because they are having a hard time adapting to the new things that have to be connected to. So a list there at the bottom: rec center, parking, time and attendance, real-time location solutions, things that universities are often asking us, hey, is there a way to incorporate these? And we say, well, what are you working with now? Well, we have such and such. Not so much, not flexible. Mixed credentials, right? Everybody had a card, and then they got more cards, and then they got more stuff in their cards: chips, mag stripes, barcodes, of course. And then mobile popped up, but then there are a bunch of different ways mobile presents to readers and to systems. And so, how do you manage all these various systems? In many cases, they don't get managed very well, and the result is silos. So, in case you didn't figure out on this diagram here, the vertical lines with the X at the top means whatever happened between those isn't going across to see its neighbor on the other side of that line and X. Silos. Then, if you did move into mobile, or you've looked at it, you found out that if you're going to start out on your own, you want to develop your own program, maybe you're not ready to go all in with one of the wallet solutions. You look at what you have to do to issue mobile credentials, it can be pretty labor intensive. And if you're working through one of your existing systems, it's very likely they only are offering support for one mobile credential from one manufacturer. Now, it is possible you might put 2 different manufacturers' mobile credentials on a phone, but systems are not typically built to do that if you even got to that point. So again, managing mobile IDs presents several challenges. Another thing that's come up, everybody's familiar with this one. Uh, a long time ago, we heard stories of people throwing ID printers and laptops and cameras on a cart and then wheeling the cart across bumpy sidewalks to the other side of campus so they could print cards as students were arriving at the housing units. So too many systems, things spread out across one or many campuses, and this makes things complicated. You could, and it's very common to have more than one physical access control system. For example, you may have one PACS or physical access control system controlling all your academic buildings and maybe half of your housing. But it's not at all unusual that there's one housing unit over there that got built and they have their own lock system with their own access control system. How does that connect? Well, that is a problem. Many different kinds of readers are being used, both on the walls, on the electronic locks, at the printers, and other places where you need to read cards. Magstripe, jumping down, all the different technologies: Magstripe, barcode, prox, contactless, smart chip. Uh, there are all these different technologies that make things very complicated. And if you have a lot of magstripe readers on your campus, well, they do work. You just have to keep them clean, but you don't get much security out of that. And how do you get from that magstripe to a contactless smart card? Now, I know for many of you who have been to our webinars over the years, this is pretty baseline stuff, but it's just, the context of how do we manage identities? How will new systems in the future need access to those identities, and what can they do? What we're looking at right now are closed loop payment systems and access control systems, and other systems also would apply here. They're often very expensive. They're often on-prem. Now, on-prem in itself is not a bad thing, but you're maintaining servers, you're maintaining personnel to keep those things running, and often integrations with on-prem systems are behind the times. Other problems that happen with legacy systems that have been collecting your checks for their contracts for a long time, things we hear about: slow support times and vendor dependency. Oh, they brought out another solution that we have to buy from them, and whoever we've been buying that from in the past, we can't do that anymore. Well, that is because they've been on campus for a long time. You've been working with them. Sometimes their requirements are impractical, and sometimes they tell you you have to do an upgrade and you don't want to or would rather not. So, what would be a path forward from some of these things, some of these challenges? Um, we feel that the world of identity in the university market and in others, we're doing this for a healthcare market tomorrow, and we're doing this webinar for an enterprise market on Thursday. They're all at a major inflection point. All of these challenges have gotten to the point, and I think everybody's fairly aware of this. Uh, we've all know plenty of people in the last 5 years that saw this coming and took the exit. It's like, I've had a good run. Things are changing. I don't know if I'm ready to go do all that again. So it is this. This is how you're at an inflection point. The tech is worn out. The people are leaving. New people are coming on. New solutions are arriving. Um, open open solution platforms, things that are looking for ways to connect to other solutions, ways that mobile pathways can connect a variety of systems, and scalable credential lifecycle tools. Big words. Credential we're familiar with, credential lifecycle. It has a life. It starts, it ends, they get lost, they find their way, they get replaced. That's the credential life cycle. And you need tools that are scalable to manage those credential life cycles for this world that's coming. Well, we put our best minds at ColorID. We said, make a picture of everything you've ever heard about the way customer systems operate, and especially in the campuses. What are they doing? What's it look like around the credentials and around identity? And of course, the way it's evolved into the last, in the last 10 years, financial transaction provider often sits right at the middle, and they're really close coupled to the other systems that need that financial support. So dining, meal plans, print copy, big deal, bookstore, vending, they're often really tightly linked. Those are guaranteed. Those are going to be connected. They're going to work. Um, Beyond that, then they have to provide cards or mobile credentials so that their system works. So they often give you a choice for the printer and the software you can use. Sometimes they allow more, but in many cases, you get one choice. If they give you a mobile choice, they usually give you one mobile ID choice. And if you don't happen to have the right infrastructure to support that, then you either change or wait. And then there are other things that universities have been asking about for years. Can you connect to our transit? Well, the answer often is probably not. And no small part of that is the metropolitan government or whoever's running the transit. They have a hard time getting things together to share their credentials and data. But it also is hard on the university side. Parking, that's a hit or miss. Sometimes parking is integrated, sometimes it's not. Or sometimes the deck next to the student center is integrated, but the lots for the games are not. Does it have to be that way? No. It's just that's as far as anybody could get. What about the access control system? Well, you can often, you got to share data there somehow. So there's flat file transfers, and there are emails with ID numbers being sent out every day. We hear these stories every week. Housing depends on the system. What's going on there. Flat file transfer, pretty common. Flat file transfers work, but is it the best way in the 21st century? Well, maybe not. Maybe there are better ways. And rec centers, those are kind of perennially challenging also. So Color ID
David,
imagines,
can
yeah,
I can,
Danny,
can
yeah,
I say something in there?
absolutely.
And back to the earlier slide when we look at what the current state is.
Yeah,
I think what's really important for us to put in perspective and frame for this kind of conversation, because when you talk about the one card systems and when you look at this as the current state and a representation of that, I mean, this is how it evolved, right? It wasn't like 3 years ago they said, hey, we're going to do it this way. It's just like David said, historically we started around dining, and then we added solutions, and services around that, and it grew and it worked. And it was really, it really solved a lot of the problems that issued, that were existing, with access to service and solutions and facilities in some cases. And so while all that was good and it worked, that's the path for in the past. And as we look and we go forward, this model is archaic for where we need to be going and the direction that technology has taken us. And that's part of the inflection point. It's that the things that have changed is the modality of credentials, the on-prem to cloud. And now when you're looking at these type solutions like parking and rec center and housing, there are so many more there's so much more development going into these type of solutions that you have to have an enabled platform to be able to address being able to onboard these type of solutions. And so I guess what I'm saying, before we start talking about the future state, it is important, to understand the history and the current state and how we got to where we are. And so we understand that that's evolution. And now we can talk about the next steps of evolution. And
great.
the other thing I think it's really important is to make sure we're clear about this is in no way are we saying that you get rid of your one card, your financial platform, your closed loop payment provider. That we intend to highly recommend that you stay with your existing one card provider, or if you're in a place where you're making a choice, then obviously you can step back, pump the brakes, and look around. But where we're going doesn't match where we've been, I guess. So there
Yeah,
we go.
yeah, no, it's good, Danny. Thank you. So that brings us to what Color ID sees as the future state. And it's, depending on how you look at it, like you could squint and look at a campus and imagine you're pretty close to this right now in various places. But you talk to other campuses and they tell you a very different story. So everybody has their own uh, phase or state in the evolution of the campus credential and the ecosystem that surrounds it. But I think ultimately this is where everybody wants to go, where all the different applications, use cases, solutions on a campus, they're all available, they're all connected, and the identity and the credentials are being managed in a centralized way that can be handled from a variety, from remote locations, however you want to do it, but you have a central location for the credential and identity management so that all these other systems can interact with each other. You can bring more on, you can release systems that need to be removed. You have that freedom and choice to move forward. So, and like Danny said, we're not in any way saying that you don't need a financial transaction system. Of course you do. You have meal plans and you have bookstores and you have all the different things that are going on campus, and the money needs to get managed. You have access that needs to be managed for security. So that, all of these, that's the packs up there in the yellow puzzle piece. These are all very important. They're not going away. We're just saying it's possible to manage the credentials and the identity as its own solution. Um, Card Exchange Cloud is now part of ColorID. ColorID did acquire Card Exchange Cloud in the last year. We had been working with New York University to help them migrate a very complex campus structure. As you see, they have 14 badge producing locations or ID producing locations around the world, and they decided to use Card Exchange. ColorID was working closely with them, and in the process, we realized that Card Exchange filled a gap, a very important need to manage credentials in a way that was not really available to universities anywhere in the world. Uh, and so ColorID decided to buy Card Exchange. So it's now part of the ColorID solution. And we are now proposing that to schools as a way of moving forward into this new opportunity. The credential ID management, I talked about that already a little bit. Um, You've got a credential has to be created. It has to be deleted when somebody leaves. It has to be updated, and it needs to happen in real time. Also, small and large populations. And you may have a large school, but within your school, you may have small populations of credentials that are used just for a subset, summer campers or conference attendees. You need a system that can manage large and small. It helps if end users are able to report or mark their credentials as lost or stolen, so that there's a self-service feature if they can upload photos. If they actually have some agency in interacting with the management of their credentials, then all the better, because now it's their credential and they're participating. In the process, you want to make sure that as you're managing credentials, you're not committing to critical identity infrastructure that will lock you out or limit your options. And one of the ways that this is done, and everybody's pretty familiar with this now, is the encryption keys that go into credentials and readers can cause problems. They can be a gatekeeper, because if you go in a certain direction and you don't have some control there, um, you will find that your cards, your mobile credentials, your readers, your locks may not work with a new system you want to bring on board. They may not work with existing systems you have on campus. This is losing control of your critical identity infrastructure, as Danny would say, and you thereby lose the opportunities for collaboration and innovation. So, as you're thinking through all these changes that are coming during this inflection point, get the right people involved and understand that a lot of times the right people don't know what you're talking about. They don't understand credentials. They don't understand security processes or encryption or readers or locks. Education. You have to educate your people. Everybody has to get educated, and you have to collaborate, because through education and collaboration, we get innovation, so that we can tear down fences and build bridges. Yes, we want kumbaya. We understand security has secrets. It's important. You have to have fences. You have to have doors that are locked, but do it in such a way that you have control over what is locked out and what can be let in. In the process, ColorID is building a comprehensive portfolio of connected solutions to offer people that will work with our solution for managing credentials. Things that are coming in the world of credentials. Some of these are here, not necessarily at your location, but wayfinding, geolocation. I think these will continue to grow and be important. And again, you have to know who people are one way or another, so you can know where they're going and where they need to go.
And
Attendance is a
David,
big
I
deal.
think that
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
also important to point out that what we're talking about here, these type of solutions are they use credentials to,
Yeah.
authenticate to those solutions. And so, that's why it's important. It's another reason where, that all of your infrastructure has to be, open and uh, because the modern pathway that's going forward with the integrations that are coming in, they're credential based, and you have to have an enabled platform in order for you to be able to take advantage of that. If not, and if you stayed in the same current state that you're in, then you're depending on a financial platform to make the decisions for the campus of what solutions that they're going to be able to provide. If you go to a housing conference, just as an example, and you went back and you found 4 solutions and you brought it back to the university under the current environment of some of the one cards, you're going to have to go to them and say, hey, is it okay for me to integrate? And if they say, well, yeah, we'll put it on a roadmap or not right now or whatever they say, the fact that you have to go to a third party vendor and ask permission to integrate means that you've lost control of your infrastructure. And this is one of the steps in being able to help bring that back and take back control of that.
Yeah. No, that's good. So a lot of new solutions coming, things that universities may be using now or plan to use in the near future. Collecting data and analytics is very important, and then the stuff you don't even know what's going on around campus that you will find out. But I think this slide is significant here. Uh, Credentials make applications work, like Danny said. If anything, if you have to know who's involved, there's some kind of credential. It's a mobile phone, it's biometric, it's a card, it's something. And there are new credential types coming, whether you're using some of these or not. In mobile, Bluetooth and wallet are already out there. Some schools are doing biometrics. Ultra wideband is has a lot of promise, long range, direction, velocity. 2 new open standards for credentials are coming called Peacock and Lyra. You can look those up if you want. There are plenty of information from the consortia that are building those. We'll see if, these things go on. Some of them take off, some of them don't make it off the ground. But really important here, because of these changes, the inflection point, institutions have a rare opportunity to separate identity management from their other systems and get control of that identity management and keep that control. And this may not happen again for years. Because as and we're talking to schools, RFIs, RFPs, everybody knows what we're talking about right now. As schools plunge headlong into what are we going to do next, don't just be running forward looking for the next immediate thing to solve everything. Think about the fact that identity management can actually provide benefits as a separate but integrated solution to everything else you do. And once you sign on a dotted line, you're going to be there for a long time. So, we're just suggesting, okay, inflection points have significance, and the reason is you can do stuff at an inflection point you can't do in between. you know, Financial markets, all kinds of world history. This is just a fact. So, this is a very interesting time, and we live in interesting times. So here we are. Uh, again, just to stress, as Danny said, what about your one card and your physical access control system? Well, they'll continue to function. They'll continue to manage financial transactions. They'll continue to open doors, but they don't necessarily have to handle the creation of credentials and the management of credentials. But they do need identity data. They need credential numbers. And a good identity management system will provide that information to them in a timely manner, like real time, in the amount and detail that is needed by those systems. And often, an identity management system is much better suited to share these credentials than to bury it in one of these other systems. So keep a lot of that you have, change what you want, but give serious consideration to moving to a separate but integrated credential management solution. With that, Danny, I'll let you take this last slide.
Yeah, and to Patricia, thank you for your question. The question that Patricia had posed is around the credential ID management. Can the end users also have the ability to mark their credentials found as well? And of course, the answer is yes. David, if you want to just
Yeah.
anything more besides yes that you want to say, but whether it's mobile, physical credential, whatever, you can deactivate, reactivate, reissue. It's there. This is the most comprehensive solution that's out there, and this kind of segues me into the steps of engagement because really we've had 40 presentations in the last 3 weeks with universities across North America. And really how we approach this is we have an introductory meeting, and that would really be the next step here. We'll follow up with everybody. You can reach out to me, personally. Pretty much everybody probably knows my or has my email, but it's sales@colorid.com if you don't have my personal email. But you will be getting some follow up from ColorID. And then what we typically do is schedule a 30-minute introductory meeting where we can talk about your specific institution because no two are alike. It's not a cookie cutter approach. There's a lot of considerations. And then after that, typically the next step is we encourage another demonstration to take a deeper dive. And it's an opportunity to bring in other stakeholders, influencers, people that you need to get buy-in from to be able to move to this more modernized approach and to position the campus and as it properly should be for adoption of technology and so we welcome that. We've got the NACU conference coming up as well, and we'll see folks there. We'll be doing demonstrations and having discussions around the modern campus. But yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out and anything that we can answer for you. We're here to support you. We have your back. We just want you to know. And although a lot of people are really overwhelmed because of the consolidations between Seaboard and Transact, and there's a lot of confusion and concern. And I promise you, we have a pathway for you that's going to help. It's going to help you, uh, help you transition. And you have more options now than you probably have ever had at any time in the history of the university. So we're really excited to be able to work with you. So let's continue the conversation. I just personally thank everybody. I look forward to seeing you. It's great to connect. David, fantastic job as always. You're the voice of reason in a complex market. So thank you for all you do. With that, folks, if there's any more questions, um, yeah, we already exceeded the time, so we'll be following up with all the additional information and just reach out and we can schedule out time to have a further discussion. So with that, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.